Y'all, today we're going to be discussing all that we learned in the new affidavit with the new charges against the not mother of the year, Lori. Now, y'all, much of this affidavit is the same as Chad Daybell's because they were basically both doing horrible things. So we're going to discuss the parts that stuck out to me that shine light on some new information. So first things first, she's been hit with the same two counts that Chad is in there on. Conspiracy to destroy, alter, or conceal evidence. Now, she is being held on $1 million bond on this. So I'm going to talk about sections 12 through 15 on this affidavit. One thing that is very interesting about this affidavit is how much Melanie Gibbs' name is all over it. Sections 12 through 15 deal a lot with Melanie Gibb, as well as how Chad and Lori try to use her as an excuse. Now, clearly from these sections, we can see how much Chad and Lori are lying and trying to cover their tracks, which should do them well when this goes to trial. Now, the time frame we're talking about here to begin with is November 26th. Melanie Gibb receives two phone calls. There's two separate ones. One's from Chad, and he's basically calling and being like, girl, the cops are going to be calling you, don't answer the phone, da-da-da-da-da. And then shortly thereafter, Lori Vallow calls, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that we're going to tell the cops that JJ's with you. If you could go take some pictures of, kids frolicking, things of this nature, go ahead and send that over so we can send it to the cops, just to make it look like, JJ's okay, he's obviously in Frozen Part 2 with you. Yeah, that'd be great. And this is where Melanie says herself, and in the affidavit, it says that she's like, no, I'm not lying to the cops for you. She had to obviously draw the line somewhere, and I'm shocked it wasn't 5 miles back, but at least it was at this point where she's like, I'm not going to lie for you. But also what is interesting in these sections on the affidavit is it shows us even more and more at how complicit she was with things and how she kind of just sat back and watched some stuff unfold. So on the same day that this is going on and that, Lori and Chad are calling her, the cops are basically trying to call her too to be like, look, we're trying to confirm, that JJ's with you, and she's not answering the phone, she's not having anything to do with it. So now the cops send the Gilbert police to her house to be like, girl, what's up? And she's not home. So then later that night, they are able to get her on the phone. And that's when she's like, no, the kids aren't with me, they haven't been with me for months. It's not a thing. Let's pause for a second here. Remember in Gibbs' media interviews, how she's like, now this is when I knew something was really wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. Again, y'all, we could sit here all day long and talk about, girl, how did you not know, a long time ago, this stuff won't right? And actually, later in the affidavit, we'll get to it, this is when she's like, look, I thought they were living with, Larry and Kay Woodcock because Lori had told them that she had cancer and they had to come take JJ. That's a whole other thing. So taking all this information on November 26th, December 6th, Melanie Gibb reaches out to the police, to the detectives, and begins to say, yeah, something's not right. This is when she's talking about the phone calls from Chad and Lori, just piecing it all together for the cops. She waited 10 days to do this. Now, mind you, we all know now, basically what had been done had already been done, but nonetheless, to sit back for 10 days is extremely questionable after you already sat back with the story that was unfolding in front of you and never said anything about that to begin with. And let's connect some of the dots with that. So early 2019, the affidavit states, Gibb was privy to this phone call. She was there, she heard this going on, and this is between Vallow and Chad Daybell. And in this phone call, Vallow is telling Chad that she had one of their visions, that her husband Charles and JJ died in a car wreck. And during this time, Chad Daybell's basically like, well, I was swinging my pendulum around and it told me that even though they didn't die in this car wreck, your husband's been taken over by a dirty, unclean spirit, a dark spirit named Ned Schneider. So there's that. Now, weeks later, the zombie idea is introduced. So again, it's laying this out very clearly how Gibbs was introduced to this whole idea. Again, starting here with this phone call, if that is allegedly the first that she's heard this whole thing, of spirits and all this kind of stuff being taken over, that phone call right there and your friend hanging the phone up and trying to legit play that off, that's enough to say, can we get a 3-day hold on this girl? Now, at some point, Gibb says that after she learned about this zombie doctrine, this is when Vallow and Daybell are basically like, look, it's our mission to rid the world of the zombies. And Gibb is like, look, initially when this was talked about, Vallow is basically like, look, well, the way that you get rid of the zombie spirit is you like pray over the body, and it like just kind of, it almost like flushes it out, like almost like a cleanse. So let's pause for a second and go over this. So Gibb and her boyfriend visited Vallow, and the last time that it is documented that JJ is seen alive is September 22nd. Gibb is saying that Vallow told her the day before they arrived to visit that weekend that Vallow's like, girl, he turned into a zombie the day before you got here. And that Vallow spent the entire weekend trying to like hardcore convince Gibb that JJ had turned into a zombie. Like all this little stuff like, oh my god, he's reading. Oh my god, he's bettering himself. That's zombie talk. That's devil talk. By the time Gibb and her boyfriend leave on the 23rd, remember, they don't see JJ, because remember, the boyfriend wanted to see JJ. He's like, where is he? And that's when Vallow's like, oh, he was like climbing on the cabinets and doing some like real freaky stuff, and Alex had to come take him, and he's not here. So again, at this point, he's gone. A week later is when Gibb says that Vallow tells her, look, I lied to Kay Woodcock about having cancer so that she would take JJ, and like that's where he's at now. So just look at the timeline from Gibb's perspective. The dark spirit talk about Ned Schneider is introduced. And this is all like within, it's not like years go by. This is enough time to be like, okay, so now it's this. So Ned Snyder's introduced. Then after that, we run into, okay, now we're calling things zombies. Then there's a visit going on in here of, oh God, JJ turned into a zombie. Also in this talk is, it's our job to cleanse the world of zombies. You do this and that, yada, yada, yada. Again, if you want to believe in zombies and unicorns, stuff like that, go for it. For me, I'm looking at it like, okay, when she starts talking about trying to prove that, JJ's a zombie and all this, that's where it's getting just into a level of instability, mental instability, that I'm like, no, there's a lot of red flags going off here. So then, fast forward a little bit, Tammy Daybell dies on October 19th. This is when Vallow starts to tell Gibb the physical body needs to die for a person's original spirit to be released, essentially freed from limbo and the dark spirit, zombie spirit that inhabited the physical body. So now you see where there's introducing, oh no, physical death has to happen. That's in October. So she knows all this information. And again, there's just like a basic connecting the dots and putting two and two together, for me at least, and I'm just like, didn't any of this raise concerns for you? I mean, there's so many bells going off here. And again, all this leads up to November 26th when the bing, 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 the police are calling you. They're saying, look, where's the child? Where's this? Da, 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 da. And even if it was that day that she was like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. They said they have to get rid of zombies. They said the kid's a zombie. Kid's missing. Let's say that was her thought process and she put it all together then. She waited till December 6th to call back and be like, she ain't right. So all of that was really eye-opening and interesting to me. Now, one of the tragic parts of this affidavit, I mean, the whole thing's tragic, but a really sad part reading it is when the remains of the children were discussed. There was some stuff out there that we hadn't gotten 100% confirmation on, but with this we did. And so this is a trigger warning if you're sensitive to this type of information, because I am going to read numbers 57 and 58, which talks about the remains. Number 57. On June 11th, 2020, I observed the autopsy of the body described in paragraphs 44 through 50. The body had not yet been removed from the plastic covering it was found in. As the body was uncovered and the face exposed, it was clear to me that this was the body of J.J. Vallow. The body was well preserved. While I had never met J.J. Vallow during his life, I was familiar with his face due to seeing many pictures and videos of him. I was further familiar with his haircut in the pictures I had seen of him in Yellowstone, which was shaved on the sides and back and longer on the top. Now, the next section, paragraph 58, deals with Ty Lee, and I'm going to read that verbatim too. On June 11th, 2020, I also observed the autopsy of the human remains described in paragraphs 51 through 55. It was not possible to identify those remains by simply looking at them, as they were too damaged by fire and dismemberment and no longer had any recognizable features. However, Dr. Glenn Smith, an orthodontist and deputy coroner in the Etta County Coroner's Office, was able to identify these remains as belonging to Tylee Ryan by matching an irregular jawline with an x-ray of Tylee when she was alive. Despite identifying Tylee, law enforcement was advised that it would still be wise to obtain a DNA verification. We were informed that sufficient soft tissue existed, which was not burnt, and that we would be able to test the DNA. We're in the process of having said test performed. So with this, we learned that yes, Tylee was dismembered. Yes, she was set on fire. Y'all, this is so horrific. The depravity of the situation is disgusting. First of all, Alex ran around doing his thing after however he did this, whatever hand he had in it. Chad Daybell's running off to Hawaii with Lori, smiling for those cringy pictures with that damn ukulele. And everyone's seemingly going on their way. Chad Daybell is walking out of his back door looking at that area, knowing what's back there, knowing that he tried to burn Tylee and apparently did a good job at it. She was unrecognizable. I do not know how someone could continue on with life with those images in their mind and with it in their heart, knowing that they committed those acts. Now, y'all, the end of the affidavit lists out exactly verbatim, very clear cut, bam, this is why we are hitting Lori Vallow with this, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to read that verbatim as well. Number 64, Lori Vallow performed at least the following overt acts in furtherance of the aforementioned conspiracy. A. Telephoned Melanie Gibb and asked her to lie to the police about the location of JJ. B. Asked Gibb to create false evidence of JJ's existence and location. C. Falsely informed the Rexburg police that JJ was in Arizona with Melanie Gibb. D. Falsely informed the Rexburg Police Department that Tylee was attending BYU, Idaho, and living with Vallow. E. Refused to produce the children to Rexburg Police or the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, as required by a court order. Now again, I find it very interesting how entangled Melanie Gibb is in this scenario. Her name is all over this. Now, I am very curious to see what is going to play out with this case if it goes to trial, when it goes to trial, what Melanie has to say at this point, how much more media interviews she's going to do, whether she's trying to get her story out or save face. I don't know at this point. Y'all, if you want to see the rest of my commentary on this video, just click the videos over here. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.